Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 200 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on October 28th, 2019.
My name is Ian. I'm a sports shooter and hobby farmer on Vancouver Island.
I'm Gavin, and I was waiting to see how dumb my fellow countrymen are, and now I know.
I'm Liberal Tim. I'm a liberal, husband, and father of three. I'm a sports shooter, and I'm the proud descendant of immigrants.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, competitive shooter, firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical, and I'll be your host on this soon-to-be disaster, I'm sure.
I
hear your feedback about the show. Yeah?
Who has maracas? Is that cultural appropriation?
We're celebrating. It's our 200th anniversary show.
Is it Brutus's birthday?
Yeah, and Brutus's birthday, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't miss this one. I was like, happy birthday, Brutus. I was like, I haven't been on the podcast for a while, but I wanted to be on 200, like that movie with the Romans. And the guy's like, this is Venice! And he kicks him into the canal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The 200. I'm proud to be a part of the 200.
I'm glad you're here, Tim.
Thanks.
For our listeners, we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com or email us feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. You can find the show on Stitcher and iTunes, and also apparently something called Podbean, which I received a comment on but have no idea how to log in and see. So if you send us a comment on Podbean, thank you, I think.
Fair enough. You can check out the podcast on Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help. To support the show, visit Patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. We could also maybe get Tim some better movies that aren't made in Turkey or something like that, maybe you'd know what the 300 is then. Although I think I still want to watch your version of the 200 with the Romans. It sounds a little bit more exciting.
Sounds like the Italian version or something, like the Italian ripoff.
Yeah.
Welcome to Venice.
But, you can also buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, our homepage, and follow the link on the right.
Show you're not a communist.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do my favorite part of the show. It's called What Are You Drinking? It's where I ask everyone on the panel what they're drinking. We're going to go clockwise on my screen. We're going to start with Gavin. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Jack and Coke Zero again this evening. I think we should fill them in on the math that we kind of did earlier, though.
Okay. Let's get everybody's drinking, and then we can do a soft transition. It'll be
crystal math.
I'm meth free tonight. Actually, unfortunately, it's just black tea. Just black like my heart tonight. Up super early tomorrow.
Yeah.
Black like the rifles they want to confiscate.
Exactly.
Diet meth.
Tim, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Rickard's Red because I like my beer to be as red as my government.
Ooh, that's dang red.
Yeah. And it takes all my money.
Well, it's heavily taxed.
Yeah.
I like my government blue and my tea in the harbor, but that's just me. I'm drinking Crown Royal because Canada. Cut it with Coke Zero because phosphates and stuff.
Phosphates.
I don't know. I'm sure there's nothing in this that's healthy for me. It claims to not be bad for me, but I'm also pretty sure that it's probably going to kill me. So,
but it tells you it's not bad for you before you even ask.
Right, that's the part that I find mysterious. So,
and the nice thing is, just before you die, you'll look nice and slim thanks to keto, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm reasonably certain that the fact that it says zero sugar is not the problem. It's the whatever else that's in it that makes it taste like it isn't sugar is probably the thing that's an issue.
Yeah, but is that going to kill you faster or slower than the whiskey that's in it? Because if it's slower, then it's
arguably faster because I've evolved to have the necessary organs to remove the whiskey from my system.
I bet you Earl drinks a lot of whiskey, but not a lot of Diet Coke. That guy's like 130.
Yeah.
It's fair. All right. So, Gavin, I think you worked up a little bit of math.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I kind of confirmed your numbers in and around the same, but I was curious about how much alcohol has been imbibed by various members of the show. Andrew and I both figure we're somewhere in and around 700 drinks ballparking for 200 episodes.
Yeah, you're talking about each though.
Yeah. Like not, yeah. He's had
700
700 drinks, and I've had 700 drinks, and you probably are somewhere in there around there too, Tim. And Ian will be a little less because he joined us late.
I've already finished
there
my
was
beer.
other people that joined us sooner. So say like 3.5 people per episode on average, 3 drinks per episode on average, 200 episodes, 700 drinks per person.
I know what you're
drinks.
doing. You're trying to figure out how many rainbow crosswalks we funded.
Yes, we are.
I mean, that would be funny if we could determine how much of my tax dollars went towards that. But you have to remember, I homebrew a lot of my beer, and other people live in other provinces that don't pay for rainbow crosswalks.
Yeah, but I worked it out. So, like, if I were to drink nothing but whiskey, which I've been drinking a lot more of, and a lot of hard booze in general on the show, that
Since
works out
the
to
election?
26 bottles just recording CPP alone.
That is not a shameful number at all.
No, I will take that.
That's almost as good as not the last birthday you had, but the birthday prior to that.
Yeah,
that was
yeah, good times.
So how many beer do we think? I think when did I start coming in? Maybe episode like 80.
Well, I mean, this is up to you to work out, but I figure I've been on almost every episode, and I have around 3 drinks a show, give or take.
Yeah, except for that dreaded daiquiri night where you and I got
okay. So
blasted.
like the daiquiri night was like, yeah, okay, we had a lot of booze the daiquiri night, but I think it was mostly just the daiquiri, not the booze. There's also been nights where I've cleaned up my office the next day, and it's like, oh, there's 8 empty beer cans on my desk. But there's also been occasions where I've been like away for work, and I've had I've been drinking hotel water.
Yeah. You smell like a sex crime.
Yeah.
Like, God, I wish I smelled like a sex crime.
Cherry chaps.
Title of my next album.
I think I've just crunched the numbers. If I've been here for like 80 episodes and it's 240, it's like I could have probably had about 8 ball waxings.
Yeah.
Or maybe like enough square footage on the rink in front of the Parliament to maybe do like the gold section or something. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least like the lines in the rink, like Tim could have used bottle caps to make those in that rink.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing that we were getting to where Gavin worked out the stats for this is I thought I'd bring up newer listeners, because any episode could be somebody's first episode. I thought I'd bring up newer listeners to some history of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 live podcast in Canada.
Confirmed.
So we started this a week after the 2015 elections, and by we I mean me, because Tyler has so much contempt for the listeners that he no longer does podcasts, including his own. And Sean is incommunicado running a business, and I don't remember, was there a 4th person on the original episode? It might have just been the 3 of us. But my original intent was to talk more about self-reliance and preparedness, and it turns out we're really good about bitching about the government and talking about politics.
Yeah.
This is the road we went down.
Yeah. Although, I mean, we need to do a theme show at some point when the government stops being so stupid.
Well, if I could start fitting other things into the episode, because like even now I'm like, oh, that's a really good article. Oh, this is a really good article. Oh, that's a really, because I mean, I consume not an enormous amount of media, but I read a lot. I read a significant amount of material that's published by the mainstream media. And I'm constantly on the hunt for like, oh, this will make for really good discussions. This will be fun to talk about on the show. But then I go to like Sunday night, Monday morning, and I'm like, all right, a little hungover, but let's read through and get the stuff that I put in the highlights reel for this week. And it's like, oh, how do I narrow this down to 90 minutes worth of content because there's 15 articles on here that are all worth talking about. How do I pick like the top 5?
Yeah.
So yeah, theme episode at some point, but also
223 has to be a theme episode.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Just another 23 weeks, guys.
Yeah, just wait half a year. It's cool.
Yeah. I've been interning, and you had Jeff also. And that was back in the first episode when you wouldn't even let people do their own intros. You had to do the intros for them.
That's right. I did the intros because we didn't know any better. But I mean, in general, the format...
Look at me. I'm the intro now.
I am the intro. So sometimes, I admit, sometimes I have control issues. Ask Gavin. He works with me. Sometimes I have control issues.
If you had real bona fide control issues, you would I would be on the show, and then when you'd boot me right off.
Also true.
I mean, I think I've only rage quit once, which is still less than Trevor. Yeah. And I'm just talking about maple seeds.
Yeah.
So some fun stats to share with the listeners. I don't know. Do other people find stats fun? I find statistics fun, but I think
it's interesting to recap every now and again just to see where we've been.
Math. I like statistics. So anyway, 93,000 downloads from our RSS feeds to assorted destinations. I don't know how that works for things like Stitcher and Podbean and other sources, if that counts as one download per source, or if it's like one download per listen. But the RSS feed says we've got 93,000 downloads so far. We've got 24,000 YouTube views, and we've had 52,000 hours of YouTube watch time, which is
Jesus.
That's a lot of bored people.
Yeah.
Right. So you all need to stop watching that while you're driving home or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of hours. 1,132 Facebook likes. I'd like more likes. Slamfire is still ahead of us. If we could beat them, that would make me feel good. Because again, Trevor, rage quitting, one of my favorite things. And we have currently 7 Patreons. Although we have not had 7 Patreons lifetime, we have people that come and go. So the count today was 7 Patreons that paid the last time I posted a show and charged the money. And I want to thank each and every one of them for their effing donation.
Wow, speaking of stats and everything, so if we've had X number of downloads versus the different feeds and live shows and this and that and everything else, and we've had 199 episodes because this one doesn't count yet, that's 587 views per episode.
Well, 587 downloads on the RSS feed. Then take into account another 25,000 YouTube views, and then take into account anything else that's not being accounted from those stats. So
but that's not bad.
700-ish episode, or 700-ish listens per episode on average.
I know for a fact there are people will download it and then just pass it around on a USB stick with a VLC player exe file on it.
Or on a cassette tape to Earl. That's one stat that's not getting recorded right there.
Yeah, you don't have the cassette recordings.
Well, actually, Fractured Metalworks brought up a good point there on the live comments that Slamfire gets more likes because they get the cat ladies from Facebook. So,
well, and all the pod carders.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I'm happy with our numbers. I mean, our top download episodes are getting close to the 1,000 download mark. All of our top episodes are mostly recent episodes within the last 3 or 4 months. So I'm going to say that's primarily the fault of the current panel. And by that, I mean Ian and Gavin, because they've been regular contributors. Because I would not be able to do this without the regular contributions of other dedicated panelists. For example, see that time I talked about home maintenance? That was a terrible episode.
I think we need to give credit where credit is due, though, in the all-Tim hour. That was spectacular.
Oh, that's right. Tim did an episode by himself, and that was very good. I actually thoroughly enjoyed listening to that in the drive to work.
I was like, I gotta cut this. I can't get through all these. And the next thing you know, 40 minutes you've gone through everything, and you're just like, and it's like back to my favorite topic. You know, as a liberal, analingus.
Yes, when in doubt, analingus.
Analingus. Yeah. Wax my maple seeds.
I don't know. It's been fun. I've enjoyed the ride. It's been 4 years. We've done 200 episodes of this, and they're
which is pretty much on track for one every week. I mean,
there's been a couple of weeks we've missed. There's been a couple of weeks we've been two. It averages out. Call it like one a week.
Yeah,
without fail.
But I think we've committed. I know we didn't talk about this, so I always bring it up live. But I'm pretty sure we're going to give you 24-hour live on Christmas Day. If you're home alone, and just tune in, and one of us will be here.
Yeah, just sitting in front of our fireplaces, drinking alone with you.
My God, I would definitely record that. I'm going to need to find a way better Christmas sweater and a way better fireplace.
Just 4 piss bottles up there on the
HD piss jugs.
12 piss bottles of Christmas, as is traditional.
Keeps the oats away.
Oh, God. And then we can see which one of us gets swatted. Tune in.
Let's be honest here. It's going to be me.
Oh, shit.
All right. So last week, elections, we got drunk. We talked about elections. We got hot takes. Let's everybody's settled. Everybody's had a week to reflect on their choices and sober up and start drinking again. In my case, that cycle repeated itself a couple of times. Let's get some hot takes. I think we're going to go anti-clockwise. We'll start with Liberal Tim. Tim, what do you think is going to happen now that the Liberals have a minority government in our country? Excellent commentary as always, Tim.
Were you asking me? I was on a beer run.
Yes, I'm starting anti-clockwise with Tim.
I think as much as everyone's dooming and glooming and this and that, I'm just trying to console myself in the fact that they had a majority for 4 years and very little really happened. They could have grabbed a lot of guns in the 4 years. And they just didn't.
So strictly on that, they're not going to do anything about guns. Let's go to our friends in the West. Ian, hot takes on the election.
Well, he came out and said yesterday that he was going to, fast track the pipeline, the TMX there, but there's a bunch of court cases in the way of that, so that's not really going to happen. So the oil patch will continue to decline, layoffs continue to happen, people will move to Alberta, and that's pretty much it. I think separatist talk will get a little bit more heated probably before the next election.
Tabernacle separatist talk or take off hoser A separatist talk?
Oh no, there'll be some yehotists and there'll be some block activists.
I like that. I have not heard that before. Yehotists. I'm hot into this.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be one of those yehotists myself, and then I'm sure the block people will start acting up as well. So,
all right, Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, I predict an early, like most people seem to be doing, because I mean, no minority government in 25 months, so I think that's going to happen, and I imagine like it'll be pretty ineffective. I mean, they've been ineffective for 4 years when they had a majority. I imagine when they have a minority, it'll be even less effective, and the government that governs least is the one that governs best. As for guns, I don't think they're going to focus on it. I think they're going to try to focus on social issues to try to buy votes. So they're going to probably just give away more of our money to try and draw some of the NDP voters and Green voters and maybe some of those guys that voted Conservative just because they didn't want to vote for Trudeau. That's kind of my prediction. Right. They'll just increase taxes and spend more money to buy votes.
I have 3 predictions, and I feel based on my predictions on this show in the past that I have a good track record with what the government's going to do. First thing is we're going to be voting again 18 to 24 months. I agree. I think, Gavin, you were the person to say it. Minority governments in this country do not last past 2 years. I think the longest one in this country has been 25 months. We'll be back at the polls in 18 to 24. Pretty much guarantee that. We might get a budget and then a non-confidence vote, but then eventually we're getting a non-confidence vote. We're back at the polls. I'm not convinced we're actually going to get the first budget through.
Well, they'll pass a bunch of bills that work for all the lefty parties. I mean, we talk about gun bans or
Right.
whatever. I mean, there'll be a few things that they can agree on.
Well, I mean, the big one is like the green initiative, right? So you'll get the orange, the green, and the reds all voting on anything that has to do with like reduced carbon footprint and higher taxes for that nonsense.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The other thing is taxes are going to be talked about, but not actually cut in a meaningful way. The federal liberals are going to talk about tax cuts for the middle class, the same as they've been doing for the last 4 years. And it's actually just going to be like trickery and magic number movement. And my tax.
You mean like $2,000
Yeah.
camping credits?
So repeating the lie.
Yes. More of the same, but only different. So we're going to talk about federal tax cuts. We're going to receive federal tax cuts, and somehow I'm still going to end up paying more in federal taxes. So I see that one.
Sounds about right.
And then the gun ban is going to have little to no action. We're going to have an extended consultation period, and then eventually an order in council moving the AR-15 to the prohib status, because they can't actually buy them back because it's going to cost too much money and they're not going to figure out how to do it. We can give hundreds of millions of dollars to Haiti or wherever, but we can't figure out how to buy back guns in our own country.
Don't forget about the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, Soros or Tides or Haiti or like pick your thing. We give away billions of dollars annually to other countries, but they're not going to, as soon as they do the math to figure out, well, there's this many ARs and they cost this much money and we're not going to give them back. We're just going to move them all to prohib and we're going to do it through order in council because that's what we do.
Yeah. Well, we give how many billions do we give to Quebec every year?
$13 billion in transfer.
Yeah, but I mean, they gave us poutine, so it's worth it.
I mean,
Now they want it back. Now they want it back, though.
Yeah. We culturally appropriated
That's my
it.
poutine.
Hey? Can't put the gravy on fries? Yes, I
So
can.
I think that'll cover that off. Let's do some news. I think it's time to do some news. I have a non-Canadian story that tickled me in a particular way. So the first one is going to come to us from the UK. This is on the metro.co.uk. Clapping banned at Oxford University to stop people being triggered. Allow me to read that once more, but slowly.
Is that where they have to do jazz hands?
Banned at Oxford University to stop people being triggered. Yes. The solution to this is jazz hands, coming soon to a serious in
the UK
secondary institution near you.
They does hands in the which case. So is that allowed now? Like, can we do that? Because like Trudeau made blackface okay again.
I don't know. The reason I bring this up is that I see this moving to our country in short order.
Canada.
The country formerly known as Canada.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we don't already do this.
But I've heard about this nonsense happening in the States, but this is the first Commonwealth country that I've heard of this happening in. And it happens to be at fucking Oxford.
Is that a rod and gun club?
Very progressive.
Well, I mean, yes, of which I'm a member, but that is a separate point.
Okay.
So we're going to have jazz hands because the British Sign Language people, I think that's actually their name, British Sign Language. I don't know. Maybe they're an authority or an association or a commune. I'm not exactly sure. But the British Sign Language people, people kind, have declared that jazz hands is the acceptable, inclusive signal for clapping.
Now we're culturally appropriating jazz.
I mean, that's
Which
a
is an
good
American.
point.
So we gotta get that out of there. Right?
Kind of American.
Not everyone has hands. Not everyone has arms. And can we get Ford out of the goddamn name of the university? Just Ox. But yeah,
super.
Well, we have to make some.
Oh.
Yeah, like how do you? I don't know. We need to come up with a white applause, something that's just ours.
We had that. It's raising your hand at a 45-degree angle. And this is strictly verboten.
I was thinking maybe the like a red eagle or a blood eagle or whatever it's called. That's also triggering. I bet they'd have a complaint about that.
Actually happened. There's no archaeological proof to suggest that the Vikings actually blood eagled people, but it'd be a lot cooler if they did. You know what I mean?
Hey, there's nothing that says that we can't, except maybe the law. Aside from that,
that's a good point. So, aside from that,
you do it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd bring this up because I feel like this is going to be not far from being in our universities because we don't want to trigger people and we want to make an inclusive environment by not clapping.
Can you imagine a whole room
Well,
of
do you remember
terrorists
back about
sitting there
6
listening to
weeks ago,
haikus and doing jazz hands because they like it?
Yeah. So do you remember back about 6 weeks ago we had those leftists down in the States were having a conference and they were trying to do like the preferred pronouns. They're like, "Hi, my name is Joel. He, her, or he, him," all that stuff. And they actually in that video they were using jazz hands instead of clapping because they didn't want to trigger anybody because the guy was very sensitive to stimulus or something and he didn't want people actually making noise.
Yeah, and then someone stood up and actually a friend of mine stood up and actually yelled at them all for using gendered pronouns. Can we please stop using gendered pronouns?
That's awesome. Because they said guys, that's right. Guys, just calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just furthering the patriarchy. It's bullshit. It has to stop.
Well, that Oxford had me. I was hiding in plain sight and I didn't even see it. That Ford business.
Yeah.
It's amazing. By the way, for Kyle there on the live comment, he says he only tuned in because he heard about the Sweet Rubbermaid live feed from Vancouver Island. I'll have you know that there's Rubbermaid and Sterilite. And if you do some Where's Waldo, you'll find reloading presses and gun boxes and vices and a bunch of other stuff floating around in there. You just have to look around for it.
I see a magnet. Do you do, yeah, there you go. And you got a tumbler, so you do stainless pin tumbler.
Oh, yeah. So there's the magnet for the stainless steel pins right there.
Well, there you go. But the real question is, Tim, though, have you seen Kyle?
I saw Kyle at it's always good to get together with the guys and see Kyle, and we saw Kyle. Kyle was a big help at the op missile match.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah. Always helping.
I enjoyed Kyle.
But if he doesn't like that, I just put on a better avatar for him there.
Nice.
I mean, not wrong.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to Ontario, the have-not province with all the money. I've got two related articles from the Toronto Sun. Both are Joe Warmington.
I hate them already.
Well, I'm not a fan either, but it is an interesting. I don't know. Dichotomy is not the right word. What's when two things are together but not the same but similar? Dichotomy would be if they were not the same at all. I don't know. English is failing me. I've had a lot of whiskey.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, juxtaposed, I think, also implies that they're more
different than they are the same.
Yeah. So let's do two. We've got outrage over sentence handed to gunmen who shot at cops, and a follow-up article. Ford's throw away the key talk, the right approach on gun crime. So the first one goes back to 2016 when an individual. Well, you draw from that your own conclusions. Well,
yeah,
an individual fired 5 rounds recklessly at Peel Region police officers because he didn't know how to use the sights on his illegally acquired and illicitly carried handgun.
Yeah.
He fortunately barely managed to wound one of the officers, and both of them recovered and had no injuries and returned to duty. He's finally gone to court 3 years later. And he was convicted of weapons charges, including intentionally discharging a firearm. But the judge acquitted him on both counts of attempted murder against the Peel Region police officers.
Well, because he was just turning his life around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tragic
Carrying an
story,
illegal
really.
handgun.
And in fact, this gives me an opportunity to talk about a charity I'm trying to start out called Sights for Knights. It teaches people with illegal handguns how to shoot better at the police because they also have rights.
Yeah.
So
Well-
if anyone wants to get, I'm trying to give the GoFundMe here, Ian. If you just give me a second.
Oh, sorry. Please carry on.
Fine, I'll bring it up at the end. It's in the show notes. Sights for Knights.
We
It
need your help.
Train inner city.
Support
well,
Tim's
And I was
charity,
saying, like, not
Sights
so much for the
Night.
police officers, but for each other. If they're going to have
Yeah.
like a little gang dispute, at least they're less likely to hit bystanders that way,
Yeah,
and they'll actually get
Yeah.
rid of the criminals faster that way. So I
let's
mean,
give 'em- let's give
yeah,
'em
I'm
a
all
fighting
for it.
chance.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair that the police have all the training because they're just privileged.
Yeah.
So anyway,
No, I enjoyed that, Tim. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no serious prison time. This particular individual is looking.
I would
at
hope
million.
not.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
otherwise,
According to the article here, I mean, he only brandished, an illegal handgun and began firing at both of them, after a very brief interaction.
I mean, haven't we all done that sometimes?
Yeah.
no.
I wonder if
No,
it's.
I have never on purpose brandished my illegal firearm or intentionally fired badly in the general vicinity of police officers.
Yeah, it's always been purposefully and accurately.
Trust me, if my friends and I were a problem, we would know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this whole thing is ridiculous. Like, I mean, I think there was another article or another incident where it wasn't a guy firing at police, but a guy firing at other gang members. So, like, he got, like, his ass handed to him. He was running away, and he pulled out his illegal handgun and shot a bunch of other, like, different gang members and is not being charged because it was in self-defense.
Ooh, I think that might be in the follow-up article about Ford.
It could be.
I don't remember. I read about this. It was like 5-on-1 and somebody attacked Buddy with a baseball bat. So
Yeah.
he whipped out his illegal piece and started busting caps in homies.
Which, like, and rightly so. However, you're not allowed to carry a handgun.
Well,
So-
unless it's in like self-defense and an illegal handgun and you're also selling like marijuana.
Yeah, then it's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. Like, don't. It's attempted murder. If you try to shoot at cops badly, it's attempted murder.
Yeah, they need more training.
Well, I mean, A, yes, they need more training, but B, firing like discharging a firearm in the direction of police officers, whether you aimed correctly or not. Sorry, bud. That's attempted homicide.
Yeah.
You don't get to shoot at cops for fun.
Yeah, like he intended to shoot at them. It's not like he was shooting in
just-
that direction and
just
didn't
was
know they were
bad.
there.
Doesn't excuse the behavior.
Yeah.
So we can take away from this two things: be better at shooting, and also this guy should be in jail.
Sightsfornights.org. See, personally, I think the gunman Peter Aiken, I think he should be in jail, and his ass should be aching.
I mean, I don't know. He
yes.
doesn't look particularly pretty.
Yeah, but I mean,
Everybody
likes
is
to
somebody
fish.
else's fetish.
Yeah.
I guess, but still. Ugh. All right, let's deal with the follow-up article. So the Prime Minister, pardon me, the Premier of Ontario, the Prime Minister of Ontario.
God, we could be so lucky.
Trigger warning: we're gonna say the F word here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're almost certainly going to say the F word a whole bunch, but not as much as we will later in the show. A, because I'll be drunker, and B, because we'll be talking about trannies.
And the RCMP.
Oh yeah, those guys too. Premier Ford, who's been quiet recently because of the ongoing federal election, has come out in favor of tougher penalties for people convicted of gun crimes in Ontario.
How dare he? How dare he?
It's proven not to work. Whatever.
Yeah. That and karting. I mean, how could they ever think that stuff would be good?
That was actually proven to work, but it's just racist. So
Yeah. So this comes from bail being too easy to obtain and bail bonds not actually being followed through for if somebody breaks the terms of their bail. I'm in support of the Premier's, I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and call this an idea of throwing these people in jail. If you're caught carrying an illegal handgun, you shouldn't be able to post bail and get back out into this, the general society until after your court date. I think that that's a reasonable thing. Ford had a lot of faux pas is maybe not the right word for this, but there's a lot of things that a lot of politicians wouldn't touch, like the criminals not going to the local gun store to buy legal guns. Entirely accurate, not something any other politician wants to talk about. Guns coming across the border illegally, not inaccurate, not something other politicians want to talk about.
Which is weird because Blair, like, that's his job as the guy that has border security as part of his mandate for being the Minister of Border Security, and even he doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, it's almost like going after legal, licensed, law-abiding firearms owner where they have a list of our firearms and addresses is easier than enforcing our sovereignty as a nation.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you just better hope your house doesn't get flooded.
Yeah.
I always hope my house doesn't get flooded.
Just want a quick shout out to YouTube feedback, and Kyle had a great idea. He said we should rename Oxford to Ox, literally Hitler University. that's great, Kyle.
Yes.
Support this.
I support this. 100%.
But yeah, I mean, we should absolutely be, I mean, at the very least, enforcing the rules we already have on the books. Like, not even making them stronger, but just actually enforcing them. Because that's where we fall short on a lot of this, is we'll let people, bargain away things to get to the next guy in the chain of whatever they're doing. And it's like, no, you just go to jail.
Going to jail is an option. Capital punishment might be another.
Yeah, I fully support that too, because there are certain crimes, in my opinion, that there is no way to recover from it. There's no, like, if you touch a kid, there's no rehab for that, except for, like, a long drop and a short stop. But, like,
55 grains of high velocity lead.
Yeah, I mean, that works too, but that's, not quite as cost savings as rope. You could reuse the rope.
Yeah. So there's a neat
Hemp will save the world.
Yeah. Neat bit. And then they said the bail reforms brought in under Premier Kathleen Wynne, who is just lucky she wasn't killed for the ivory.
Yeah.
About 90% of the people brought before the courts were granted bail and released. So.
Yeah, she's very lucky that the ivory trade isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of my problem, is that we're letting all of these people out immediately with very limited conditions or very low dollar values for bail. And bail's not being collected in a lot of cases when people breach these peace bonds. Like, the whole concept of bail is if you put up bail for somebody and they breach that bond, then the person that put bail up is responsible for paying it. And a lot of the times the court is not actually collecting that money, or at least not collecting all of that money.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
maybe we could go just go to a standardized schedule. Anyone, I don't know, charged with carrying an illegal firearm, because I mean, like, that's a pretty easy thing to determine. Do they have a registration and a valid firearms license? If no, the bond is, I don't know, $100,000.
Or just say they are not eligible.
Or a summary conviction, or summary execution, whatever works. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
a summary conviction at the very least, because there's no doubt at that point they don't have a license, they don't have a registration certificate. What is there to argue?
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Say them all.
I can't figure out how to get the Jolly Executioner to play through the thing so you guys can hear it. That'd be a lot funnier.
Well, I like our prime minister. Have a basic respect for
Funny
China.
stuff.
And what China used to do is like they would, when they execute you, they actually send the bullet casing and a bill for the bullet to your family.
Well, at least
So-
you can reload it. I mean, and you did
So
pay
that's-
for it, so it's
yeah.
yours. So
Yeah, that's how liberal I am.
yeah.
That's what I think.
It's also reducing, reusing, recycling. So I mean, heck,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with
Yeah.
using bullets to reload.
Let's,
How come actually? Kyle brought up a good point. How come bounty hunting isn't a thing up here? If somebody breaks their bond and doesn't show up to a court case, yeah, they get they get a warrant issued, but that's it. They can still be on
the
the list.
police have to enforce all of that stuff. They don't allow
No.
outside.
Yeah, that nice try, Gavin. Kyle, the reason bounty hunting isn't as big up here in Canada is just because it's too cold to wear a tank top.
But the mullet would keep you warm. That
Well, at
glorious,
least the back.
yeah, that glorious mane would fucking add about an R value of 40 to your clothing. I'm sure.
I mean,
Cold in the front, warm in the back.
Because 10 out of 10, if that was an actual occupation, I would be doing that at the very least part time.
Yeah, I'd give you some sweet hookups from sites for nights.
Yeah.
do we put out bounties on people who are skipping out on bond?
I just gonna say we're not a serious country, so no. I'm not even gonna listen to it. I'm just gonna say
We're not a serious country, but I'm curious if we should be.
there we go.
But I
no.
would think like I mean, because bonds, bail bonds is not as a thing up here either, right? You can't just like borrow money for bail bonds, can you?
I don't know how that works. I know or I shouldn't say I know. I am reasonably certain that you can post a bond as someone who is charged with an offense, at least in the province of Ontario. And if the person, if the person who has allegedly committed the crime breaks that peace bond, the person who posted the bond is then required to pay it. Although it seems to me that in a lot of cases that the court does not actually enforce the full payment of that amount.
Yeah.
They
From my
lead to it.
understanding, it's we have a process sort of like that, but yeah, it's not like in the States where you have like bail bondsmen that like that's what they do for a living is they put the money out in theory.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think
hold you accountable,
How we deal with I
Yeah.
think is it surety?
Surety.
Yes. I think that how we deal with surety is different than how the Americans deal with it.
Bring
Because I
back
think
the hanging tree.
well, I mean, yes, for starters.
Yeah.
We got lots of trees. Good for the carbon
Yeah.
footprint.
Yeah.
Hemp will save the world.
Hemp might save the world. If not,
I mean-
hemp makes a fine rope.
Yeah, and oak makes the finest beams.
It's true. Have that on good authority.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Alberta. We'll talk about the RCMP forced home entries in flooded High River to be subject of inquiry. So for everyone keeping score at home, the floods in High River that caused an evacuation were in 2013. And we're recording this at the end of October in 2019. So for anyone who can't figure out how much their bond is, that's 6 years. It's taken 6 years, and now we're finally going to look at having an inquiry. Not that we're having an inquiry. We're finally going to look into the possibility of having an inquiry.
Sounds like government.
Well, Dennis Young, who's filed many access to information requests, has filed documents with the RCMP. And the RCMP commissioner has agreed to extend time for the inquiry into this matter to be completed in October of 2020.
So a year.
So another year. So for everybody that remembers, 2013, there was a flood in southern Alberta. High River a relatively small town in southern Alberta was evacuated, and thousands of homes were broken into, and millions of dollars of damages was done. And the RCMP removed just over 600 firearms from just over 100 homes. Allegedly, the military may have been involved in this and facilitated this in some way.
It's almost like they had a shopping list of guns.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, 2013, we didn't have a long gun registry at that point.
But they just still have the old records that were out of date, but still around.
Yeah, but they were ordered destroyed by an order in council and a second order in council.
Oh, turns out they weren't.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information around this is being withheld under solicitor-client privilege for some reason, because apparently the government has that privilege, the same as if they were an individual private citizen, which I fundamentally disagree with. But okay, let's see what the RCMP has to say about that.
But I mean, doesn't it seem weird if they're going to investigate themselves?
It is a little bit odd.
I mean, that's like some Putin level shit right there, right? Like, don't worry, I will gladly look into who killed my political comrades.
Round up the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see that the RCMP has agreed to this inquiry, and they've set a timeline on it. So I'm sure we'll be covering this over the next year.
Well, yeah, if they do a thorough job, it'll be interesting to see what happens when they find that they used a, piece of, some records that were supposed to be destroyed twice, from like the government decree, the order in council, like whatever, said you have to destroy this information. It was ignored once. I remember at the time there was an email leaked, and he said basically, yeah, we were told to destroy it. Don't really worry about that kind of thing. And then that got leaked out, and then there was a second order in council, and Harper basically had to tell them hey, straighten up and fly right kind of thing. But there was still at High River, there were some houses that were entered 3 and 4 times until they found they had a shopping list.
Yeah.
So,
but my guess is that they will find less evidence here than they did during their SNC investigation.
Have they had the SNC investigation?
Exactly.
Oh.
And they never will. This is going to be garbage. I can't imagine they're actually going to do this with any sort of sincerity. Where's the incentive?
I'm inclined to agree with you. But I am interested to see how this turns out over the next 12 months.
Absolutely, but I mean, where's the incentive for them to do this with any sort of honesty? Because either they're gonna fuck themselves, or their friends that are in the department, or that's just not how cops do, for the most part.
All right, let's go on to another one. We've got a National Post article. I think this is why Tim is here. Trans activist Jessica Yaniv filed genital wax complaints as a mean of extortion, Rights Tribunal rules. So do you want to tell us about your boyfriend, Tim?
Not really a boyfriend, but just a personal hero. It's Jessica Yaniv is now thwarted in her efforts to get her balls waxed at
That's right. Wax the balls.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're just it's too bad that there are people out there who are so transphobic that they just won't do that. But.
Yeah, I mean, because none of these people are even waxing male balls.
There's no ball
clearly,
waxing. This is not a service that was even being offered. But,
clearly, though, lady balls are not balls.
Not applicable to the situation because Jessica believes. Yeah, Jessica says
her balls
a woman.
are lady balls. Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, no, hard pass.
But they're lady balls.
still gonna pass.
I mean, and
but
to be
anyway-
fair, like from all the soy, they're probably really small, so they're not even like big lady balls.
I don't know, man. She's got to ride around on one of those scooters to show up to the Human Rights Tribunal.
Yeah. And
That's
have
probably
to cart
not
my
from the
balls around
soy,
on a big
that's-
on a big scooter.
No, that's to add up the privilege points when she pleads her case.
Yeah, and it's probably.
Oh, so you're saying that's not to carry her giant balls around? That's just
No.
to.
Just for
Oh.
show.
Yeah,
I see.
maybe her giant opinion of herself
Yeah.
Oh,
and her taser.
Yeah.
so well, we should
Private
talk about the
device.
taser, but the part of me or the part of the story that I hadn't previously understood was that this was Jessica.
Stunning. It was stunning and brave. That's what
No,
it
it
is.
was not stunning and brave. It was calculated and malicious. But the part of this that I didn't realize is that Jessica was specifically trying to punish South Asian people whom she views as hostile to the rights of transgender people. And in all the articles I've read about this leading up to this, I had not made that connection that this was against a specific identifiable minority.
Stunning
I'm
and
with
brave.
you on that. I did not realize that either.
Stunning and brave.
Well, when you look at the only two ridings that went conservative in Vancouver, which would be Richmond, obviously they have conservative values. Maybe she didn't like their conservative values and figured they were just a bunch of transphobic, racist, bigot, Asian supremacists.
Nazis.
Yeah, literally Nazis.
Nazis. The Asian Nazis.
So obviously she had it in for them. That was
they
probably part
first
of it.
created the swastika.
Yeah, no, it's true.
That would actually be the Hindus, wouldn't it?
No,
Yeah, same thing.
That's a type
No,
of
same
Asian.
thing. Yeah,
Asians.
same thing. Yeah,
It's like Asia. It's over there.
South Asian, I mean, subcontinent. It's part of Asia, sort of.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's totally,
Yeah.
it's totally the
other
original
thing I
Nazis.
didn't realize in reading all of this stuff is that Univ has filed a dozen complaints against various waxing service providers in BC.
Yeah, which
I
Oddly
mean,
enough,
I'm
out
not
of all of
saying
those,
that's a
could-
trend, but I mean,
yeah, and oddly,
Yeah,
out of
it's
all of
only
those,
been a
couldn't
lot
find a
of
single
math.
one that waxed male balls. Not a single
yeah,
one. Weird.
yeah.
Brave and stunning.
I mean, definitely stunned. Can't
Brave
argue
and
with
stunning. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So the court has ordered Univ to pay $6,000 in costs to 3 of the targeted business women's for improper conduct, including using human rights laws as a weapon for extortion.
Mhm.
So this is
but that's
most-
the thing. Like we never when we established the Human Rights Coalition, like
tribunal. Well, all right.
the tribunal, like we never expected it to be used against us. You have to expect, you have to take that into account.
Really?
So now
Yeah.
we don't want it. Yeah.
I was like the only one sitting here going, big
Yeah.
think emoji.
So no, like I'm just saying, as a liberal, we want a human rights tribunal, but we also want to be able to just disagree with it and just turn it off when we want to.
Yeah.
We want like an all-powerful weapon that we can just turn off when we disagree with it. So I don't think we're asking too much. Like if you don't understand what we're trying to do here,
Yeah.
No, I think I do. I feel like I have a very solid understanding.
no.
Okay.
Well, I do love that how they have that as a charge, like using the human rights tribunal as a weapon for extortion. Like the fact that that's even a thing. means
Where's
that
the
this whole
lie,
thing is-
though? That's
Oh,
what
I know,
this
absolutely. But the
was.
whole thing that's a thing that exists means that the whole thing is bogus because that shouldn't be possible.
But it was, and it is, and that's
Well,
rather
that's 'cause
why
we
we've been
don't-
covering
We don't
this
live
for.
because we don't live in a serious country. I think we've all established that long ago.
Well,
But at least there's finally some sanity in that we do not have to wax the balls. Unless we want to for whatever reason.
No
Even
matter
a
how
broken-
stunning and brave they are.
Yeah.
But government cannot force you to wax the balls.
Even a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
Yeah.
it's true. I like the rolling towards the end. So there was a lawyer from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, which from everything I've read, is a relatively left-leaning institution.
Not left enough.
Well, clearly not.
Clearly, yeah.
But Barrister Cameron, the lawyer that's involved in this, I'm going to read this quote. Self-identification does not erase physiological reality. Our clients do not offer the service requested. No woman should be compelled to touch male genitals against their will, irrespective of how the owner of the genitals identifies. So,
yep. The chosen identity changes everything, though. They're no longer male testicles; they're female testicles. And Jay Cameron's just a cisgendered,
part of the patriarchy.
Part of the patriarchy. Yeah.
Oh,
probably
Scottish. Supremacist, patriarchist. I get confused.
Just an old stock European.
Yeah, just
descent.
Literally Harper.
Harper.
Yeah,
Harper Hitler.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty strong name.
It's not bad.
But it'd be hyphenated, so it'd be a little more politically correct nowadays, right?
Well, easier to fly under the radar.
Yeah,
that's right.
So, I mean, good for the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms for figuring out that this was in fact like malicious prosecution and coming to the aid of these minority business women. I appreciate that. I'm glad we're looking out for these women business owners.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we don't have to wax the balls.
I'm not sure we don't have to wax the balls, bigot. I feel like this was maybe just an overreach. Like maybe it's a little too far, a little too fast kind of a thing. But I think
like if they only
be back.
filed a violation against one company, then we would have to. But the fact that they went after so many.
That's the thing is like there was a pattern and an obvious trend here. And like, okay, filing complaints against a dozen small businesses predominantly owned by Asian women. Almost all of them contacted through Facebook. I can.
So if it was a white-owned single business contacted through official means, you're saying we'd be waxing balls.
Was a little bit more strategic about this. Had a little bit better planning. Maybe targeted some sort of large corporate brand rather than individual entrepreneurs. Like there were definitely some things that could be done differently where this ruling would have been in
for anyone listening, this is not a how-to.
No, I'm not saying this is a how-to, but I'm also not sure how to even gender this because I'm very tempted to say key, but I'm also sure that means that I'll get a human rights violation or at least a YouTube strike, which is basically the same thing at this point.
Oof, yeah. I mean, we've already been demonetized, so
it's true. I mean, I for one welcome our new YouTube overlords and my lack of monetization, but also
we need your help to support the show.
I don't need another strike. Well, so yeah, I don't. Yeah. This fucking guy.
Yeah.
Well. Glad Tim's here. Let's move onward. Let's look to our Western brethren. Husky Energy announces layoffs many in Calgary. This is on 660 News. I don't know that they've actually published a real figure yet. This was the initial breaking news on Monday morning. Now we're Tuesday morning. This was immediately following the election. Tuesday morning, pardon me. Husky Energy announces layoffs, many in Calgary. I don't know that we've arrived at an actual number. So for everyone that isn't aware, I guess it's important to note that Husky is owned or at least controlled by a Hong Kong billionaire. They're a Canadian company, but the primary stakeholder is not Canadian or based in this country. Husky got $250 million with a capital B dollars in corporate handouts from the current Alberta government, not the NDP, but the UCP. None of that $250 million has been put towards jobs, so I can only imagine that it's going towards profits. But they haven't created any new jobs as yet.
Well, who's
Pretty
in
hard.
charge of government handouts?
Well, in this case, it's Kenny, but
Okay, well, was
I
there
don't-
not any specifications on what they had to do to get the handout?
I'm going to go with no.
I
Oh,
don't know, they probably had to give a few handies to get a
Hey,
handout.
it's
but-
only tax money. There's plenty more.
Code for no.
We get that shit every day.
I don't think it was actually creating jobs because that's pretty much impossible when the industry's lost 150,000 jobs compared to the SNC Lavalin that was like 6,000 jobs worth fighting for. But I think it was just to upgrade certain equipment to create some short-term employment, not permanent jobs.
Well, I think that's what it is. And Husky is saying they're doing this to bring their employees in line, or I guess their employment in line with their corporate goals they have.
You know
Well,
what
I had
I'm
a couple-
reminded of?
I had a
Just
couple
to-
friends living in Calgary, and they were explaining that basically a lot of these layoffs are just being held pending the results of the election. And it's not just Husky; it'll be lots of companies doing that, the same thing. And
Oh, I'm sure Husky was just immediately like,
Yeah.
all right, everybody's out of a job.
so it was
Yeah,
six.
Thanks, Trudeau.
The strong rumor I had was 600 people in one day after the election, and they had taxis lined up in front of the building, and they're basically just frog marching people out with their little box full of personal effects, and ready to a taxi and gone home.
You know what this reminds me of? This is like what you gave Husky like $250 million. What was the handout?
$233 million from the UCP.
He reminds me of the line from Apocalypse Now, and he says like, "We'll cut you in half with a machine gun and give you a Band-Aid."
I mean, not.
It's like
not
they've crippled the energy sector out there, and then they give them like $250 million. It's just like,
$250 million. It doesn't go towards actual employees or jobs.
no, that's what I'm saying though. Like they've destroyed the industry out there. Like
Oh, 100%.
Well, just like how much money did they give to Bombardier, then they turned around and sold their main product they were developing to Airbus. It's just corporate handouts don't guarantee anything.
Well, no, and we really, I think we ought to be ending corporate welfare. We should stop giving these giant corporations money, and we should be ensuring that they're paying their correct amount of taxes, especially in Alberta, where taxes for businesses are particularly low compared to a lot of the country. We really need to stop giving up free money. Looking at you, Amazon. The other thing I wanted to compare and contrast against was Husky versus SNC Lavalin. So Husky turns around the day after the election, lays off, the rumor is 600 people. SNC Lavalin stocks go from $17.50 for the weeks leading up to the election, $17.50 a share leading up to the election, to just over $20 a share on the day on October 22nd, the same day as the Husky layoffs, and are hovering at around $20 a share now, a week later. I find this interesting. Companies in the energy sector out west laying people off, people who probably bribe other governmental leaders in other countries with hookers and blow, seeing their stocks
Yachts.
increase.
Yeah. Boats
It's
and
almost
hoes.
yachts,
It's almost like they know which way the government's leaning. It's
boats
weird.
and hose, indeed, my friend.
Well,
Yeah.
do you know what? I mean, the really striking part of this is Google Husky layoffs and then Google SNC Lavalin stock and see which one you have articles about. Because no one in the mainstream media is writing anything about SNC Lavalin. No one. They're just not writing articles about this company. I read the stock ticker, I interpreted some data, I made some conclusions, but no one's actually, no one in the mainstream media is actually writing about what's going on with SNC Lavalin versus what's going on with layoffs in Calgary. I find that kind of suspicious.
Yeah. I mean, the only mention I've seen of anything even remotely like this is from our friends at Coat of Arms. They made a post about the SNC stock and some other shady nonsense that was going on there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and lump them with mainstream media, but very, very little media has been covering
Yeah,
what's
but that's what I
us.
mean. Like, no mainstream media has done anything on it. They would be the only people that I have seen that have even mentioned it. And it's kind of a significant thing, given the scandal.
Well, and the fact that they're facing an RCMP inquiry now, not that will mean or amount to anything.
Yeah.
The Queen's Cowboys will investigate. It will cost us millions of dollars, and they will determine that nothing was done wrong by the government.
Or worst case, there's a $250 fine looking down the barrel at JT.
Having to meet with the ethics commissioner again, I see.
Yeah, but like he'll just take his time to schedule it, you know.
Well,
I know he's happy to meet with him.
He's happy to meet with him anytime, or her, or them. They.
People kind. Yeah.
Jay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to another one. We've got a global news article. Climate change emerges as one of the top ballot box issues among voters, Ipsos poll. So this is on Decision Canada. Decision Canada is a trademark of Global News. This is conducted by Ipsos Reid specifically for Global News. This is like 15,000 people. I don't know the exact number, 15,029 people, something like this, that were conducted. And Ipsos claims to have a 2.9% margin of accuracy 19 times out of 20, whatever that amounts to. So, top 4 issues for the vote. Strap yourselves in. This is super duper vague. 75% of voters cite healthcare as among their top 3 most important issues in determining vote. 29% cite climate change as among the top 3 most important issues in determining their vote, up 4 points from the last time they did this poll. 26% cite affordability and cost of living as among the top 3 most important issues. And 26% cite taxes as among the 3 most important issues in determining the vote.
Yeah.
Taxes and climate change are kind of hand in hand, are they not?
Kind of the same thing. Well, that's the thing. Climate change is very important to me as a voter, not because I'm worried that we're going to destroy the actual climate, but because I'm worried that they're going to tax the shit out of me for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
But I heard if you give the government more money, they'll make the sky god less angry.
Yeah, I'm helping.
All we need to do is sacrifice enough virgins. Climate change will go away. The Aztecs had it right.
Yeah, but if we sacrifice all the virgins, then the Libertarian Party won't exist anymore.
I feel the problem with this.
Just keep making sacrifices till the eclipse happens, then we're all good, right?
Yeah,
that's right. I mean people in this continent have done that for thousands of years, and it's turned out fine so far.
Yeah. But, better safe than sorry.
I feel like the questions that Ipsos wrote may have been somewhat just disingenuous. I mean, obviously, the sample size is questionable, 1,500 Canadians. That's not a statistically significant sample. But let's pretend like it is. 29% citing climate change is among the top 3 important issues in determining the vote. Yes, I also feel like climate change is an important reason in determining my vote, in that I'm going to vote for the one party that wants to abolish the Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, they're...
But I feel like they framed it in a more positive light than that. Like, are you concerned about climate change? Are you worried that we're going to...
Well, I don't know if I would call that a more positive light. I would say that as, a very, very scary light. I mean, that the world is going to end in 13 years. At least that's what that little girl says.
Well, and Al Gore said that in 1990, and we're still here, so
Yeah, but I mean, that's because he did not invent the internet, but he did make up global warming.
That's right. So I don't see much coming out of this. 35% people worried about healthcare. Like this pretty well the top 4 issues.
They're worried about their free healthcare because they want it.
Well, I'm worried about healthcare healthcare is an issue that determines my vote. In that, are we going to have people in this country that can administer my free healthcare? Because I've been paying this long into my free healthcare, I'd kind of like to get some.
And are we going to allow more people into the country that have access to our free healthcare?
Again, I'm going to vote no on that because I don't think we should be doing it, but that's me.
Yeah, but it's still an important issue.
Yeah, anyone thinks that's a great idea, then this is my challenge to you. You have to create an insurance company and you have to allow people to sign up for insurance after they've had a car accident.
Yep. Or with providing no information whatsoever about themselves.
Yeah.
And not to mention unlimited claims allowance with a limited resource. So doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you pay. You can just go as many times as you want to the doctor.
Yeah. And no increasing your rates.
Yep.
Ever.
Well,
Brave and stunning.
I think we need to start making shirts that just say that on it.
Brave, stunning. Do the graph.
We know
Look
a
at
guy.
this graph.
Okay. So let's move on to an article from the Globe and Mail. This seems to have changed since I originally tagged it. So published October 23, updated October 24.
Screenshot everything.
I don't remember this being what it is now, but the original article was tax cuts will be the first order of business, Trudeau says after re-election. And the title of the article now is Trudeau wants Trans Mountain Pipeline completed as quickly as possible.
We can't cut taxes if we need to make something happen as quickly as possible.
Both the Trans Mountain Pipeline and taxes do make it into the body of the article, but I seem to remember it being different when I originally read it, which is why I had tagged it. Now I find it interesting to comment on the media changing the official narrative after the fact. It's very 1984-y. But let's jump into the article.
600 million reasons to change that.
Yeah.
Well, I would settle for a couple 100,000 of those reasons. Hell, I'd settle for a couple thousand of those reasons at this point.
Or
I'm not picky. I can be bought. Hey, $5 for $5.
At least you're honest about it.
Sprechen wage cut.
Yeah. Unlike the government, I'm completely upfront about this. I can be bought, and I am not expensive.
Could be the rising Wexit influence. They changed the headline to try and mollify a few angry e-hottists, as I'd like to call them.
Yeah.
It's very possible. Also, Yehotists, definitely. Thanks, Kyle. That makes the show title. Yehotists.
Yeah.
So Trudeau says the Trans Mountain Pipeline is to be completed as quickly as possible and this is an effort to assure voters in Alberta and Saskatchewan that he cares about them, I'm sure. Maybe this year he'll remember where Alberta is and which country it resides in. He also says that the new cabinet is going to be sworn in on November the 20th, and one of their first orders of business now is to cut personal income taxes. And they're going to reduce the personal income tax threshold from I think reduce is the right word. It's going to change from $12,000 and change to $15,000. And the theory is that this is going to impact the average Canadian by $600 in federal tax annually. I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit right here and now on this. My taxes are not going down. I don't care what the shiniest of ponies has to say. There's no way that these people in power ends up with me getting to keep more of my money.
Yeah, sadly.
Nobody else? Okay, we'll move on.
I don't know. It's Trudeau talking about a pipeline. I don't believe anything he says. So.
Yeah, there's only one pipeline he's worried about.
It might be worthwhile to touch on that. If I'm not mistaken, the Trans Mountain Pipeline is currently embroiled in multiple legal scandals. So they're going to have to settle all of their court cases before they can do any manufacturing and production.
And he'll have to override the wishes of the indigenous peoples in the area, in which case he's going to be literally Hitler.
Oof, yeah, no, you don't want to do that.
Thanks for your donation.
For your own good. Come on, we all know the white man knows best. Especially if it's a French white man with funny socks.
Is that a song?
He wants to take away your guns, so you can't go wrong.
Yeah,
oh, the white man knows best.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll move on. I don't think there's any rapid fire feedback. Sorry to that guy on Podbean that left a comment. I have no idea how to log in. I can read the first sentence.
Yeah.
Maybe Podbean will send me a password reset. Maybe they won't. I don't know.
Either way, I'm assuming it's good news. Yeah.
We'll see where everybody can find you. We'll go. I think where we're at. We're gonna go clockwise. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
The best place to find me on the internet is Instagram at urbex_GTA.
All right, Ian. I've heard you also have a pod card of sorts.
Yeah, you can also reach me doing my little bit on Canadian Prepper Podcast, usually recorded on Wednesdays every week. This week we'll be talking about winter vehicle setup and preparedness.
Ooh.
You can also
most of the country. That seems timely and applicable.
Yeah. You can also reach me at the islandretreat@gmail.com for now. Might have to change that email down the road.
Might have to. Liberal Tim, where can everyone find you on the internet?
You can find me at facebook.com/Tim's Good T-shirts. Although I am very busy working on the website for the Sites for Nights.
It's a noble cause.
It's a noble
As
cause.
well, you should be, sir.
Yeah.
You can find me at RagnarokTactical.ca. Use the discount code Patriot at checkout. Save yourself a couple of dollars. We have a bunch of good stuff. We also have a large first aid supplies order on its way. As soon as that gets in, I'll update the inventory on the website. Get yourself some tourniquets and such. We value your opinion. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email the show feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Let us know what you think. And I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. I feel like the witty repartee in the show notes is out of date now, so I'm just going to delete that. Sorry that Rod couldn't be on the show. You know the deal. Go to Vancouver, Thunderdome with Ian, winner takes all. And by all, I mean a seat on the podcast.
Very prestigious.
Highly sought after. Ooh, you know what? We could probably upgrade that. Winner gets to wax Jessica Yee's feminine penis.
I yield.
Just make sure you use lots of avocado oil.
Rod, it's
Waxed Rod.
It is the West Coast. You got to use that avocado stuff.
Waxed Rod Giltaka.
Yeah. If you file a Human Rights Tribunal complaint, you too can wax Rod.
Oh, and to all my liberal friends out there, I just wanted to give a shout out. Dump all your shares in avocado producing oils. The new thing is going to be marijuana infused anal lube.
Yep, you heard it here first, folks.
Yep. Get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, it's a hard pass.
It'll be even harder if you don't have that lube.
It's gonna be big.
It's gonna be big. That's a great tagline for a truly terrifying product. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'll take this opportunity to remind you that you are the true north, strong and free.
He left.
I think you hit the wrong button.
We're still live. Anyway, this gives me an excellent opportunity to talk to you about Sites for Nights. You can get in now on the ground floor of